Avi, so nice to see you. I'm wondering if you can sort of walk us through an individual session with you and Gestalt exercises that you may incorporate, and just tell us like
Oh yeah,
how a session with you is informed by Gestalt.
by Gestalt.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the people watching this have some background in Gestalt theory, some understanding of Gestalt theory.
I would say for the most part, most of my fellow classmates have taken a theory class and some a skills class, but we are sort of a mixed bag.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'll run through that. I mean, I think a lot of what qualifies my sessions as Gestalt are paradigmatic.
Mm-hmm.
More so than having the outward look of a session filled with Gestalt
Gotcha.
experiments.
Right.
So, when the central premise is that, healing and spontaneity happen at the contact boundary, and that's where we want to be and where we want our clients to be, then we spend a lot of the time keeping a keen eye for interruptions to the contact boundary, which are in categories like projection, confluence, retroflexion, introjection.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, introjection is one of the best ones. It's when you swallow things whole before you have teeth, and they live as kind of belief systems in your body, but they might not check out with what you really believe today. They haven't been
Mm-hmm.
assimilated. So these things prevent people from being spontaneous, and it's kind of a vigilance to that paradigm for me that qualifies the session as Gestalt. There are a few other tenets that are always in place that I feel like, again, reflect the Gestalt of it all. One is that I'm showing up as myself and not as a blank slate, very
Mm-hmm.
much in the philosophy of Gestalt.
Okay.
And additionally, that as Gestalt therapists, I don't know if you read it in my bio or not, but the
Mm-hmm.
Gestalt says that we can't really know the experience of another, so we can look at the places that we interact and comment on that interface space
So
and bring people's awareness to that space. So that's where the here and now comes in, and the
right.
attention to what's happening with somebody's. They could be telling an intense story, and I might ask them about the way they're breathing or the face they made or what they're doing with their body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's all Gestalt driven.
Mm-hmm.
And am I saying anything here?
Totally. No, that's very
Yeah.
interesting. And how do you think that transfers to working with groups?
So groups in the Gestalt tradition can be really interesting in that a group process could be happening, and the leader of the group could hone in on what someone's doing with their body and breath in a moment and just drop into the physical thing that's being presented. If somebody says, "Oh, I just thought of my mother," in a Gestalt
Mm.
group, the
Mm-hmm.
leader might say, "There's your mother right there. Talk to her right now," and the
Mm-hmm.
group would bear witness to this happening. Um, so there are a lot of ways that it can come in, but it also honors the spontaneous process of group momentum. So the Gestalt group could also have a less active leader depending on the flow.
Okay. So, what is the role of the facilitator of a Gestalt group?
Well, um, I think that
Or let me ask you this: is it to sort of point out those physical things that are happening? Is it to kind of like
it's
bear witness to
that's
those? Is
that's
that
part of it.
uh huh?
It's a real creative position,
Okay.
being a Gestalt therapist. So you're also trying to bring your own creativity and your spontaneity. A Gestalt therapist might say, "I just had a fantasy that this was happening," and they would bring
Mm.
their own fantasy into the pollsters write a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I've done much of "I just had a fantasy that,"
Right.
but
Right.
I think it's relevant. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Um, I might use different language to account for what clients would be comfortable with. That's the other thing about Gestalt experiments like the empty chair or like
Mm-hmm.
doing Gestalt dream work is, how willing an average client is to really go there and
Yeah.
really embody and drop in that way. And though Gestalt posits that no experiment is a failed experiment, like even if a refusal is a successful experiment, no, I don't
Okay.
want to do that, there's another opening to something.
Okay.
Um, at the same time, I find that there's not, if you put a group together of aspiring Gestalt therapists,
Oh,
you're
wow.
going to have nothing but like eager Gestalt experiments happening the whole way. But if
Mm-hmm.
you have lay people looking for therapy, it's a little more random what they're going to be game for. And I also, by the way, think to anybody curious that how old you are relative to them matters,
Mm.
to the degree that they're kind of self-conscious in front of you and how willing they are to release into kind of another way of being.
Who's a good candidate for a group that
Group.
utilizes Gestalt? I mean, are there people who need to be avoided? Are there like explosive personalities who might not be the best fit, or I don't know.
Yes,
I can,
think
yeah, I can see where there might be some people who,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. I don't think it would take long for anybody watching this to think of people in their own family
mm-hmm,
that
right,
would never be a good fit for a group.
yeah,
People that suck too much energy out of the air, that demand too much attention, that cannot handle conflict, that aren't
mm-hmm,
able to be supportive, people that take so much more than they're able to offer. I think you need a relatively functional egosyntonic group member
okay.
when it comes to adults.
Um, and tell me what happens when like somebody's kind of like in the hot seat. Is that like just what you were referring to of if you say like I'm noticing that this is happening? Then is
Oh,
that
well,
sort of like, or is that something you kind of say like who wants to, who has something going on today? I'm just wondering like how that sort of happens.
yeah, well, so I mean, I think that you know different clients would have different ideas about what being in the hot seat meant, right?
Okay.
For some
Mhm.
people, any attention to me at
It's like,
all
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
putting me in the hot seat.
Mhm.
And then there could be the client that's like, even if you select good group members, there's still tension, there's still conflict, there's still
Yeah.
healing that needs to happen, there's still people that can cause problems.
Probably true of
And
any group of people doing
any group
anything.
dynamic, totally,
Yeah.
totally. It's a messy
Yeah.
endeavor.
Yeah.
And so there's the hot seat of the troublemaker, the trouble causer,
Mm.
and the kind of language that we use and the way that we
Yep.
approach such a thing is critical
Totally.
in
Yeah.
what kind of experience that is for the person. If you're able to say, rather than saying I'm noticing Jeremy, you're doing a lot of the talking, or people seem to be getting frustrated with
Mhm.
Jeremy.
Mhm.
I might say like Jeremy seems to be stirring up a good amount of excitement,
Hmm. Okay.
which 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 opens a road for us to start to talk about what's going on here,
Yeah.
and I'm doing the work of minding the implications of my language and
Yeah. I love
how
that.
much
I
it
think
allows
for all
for.
of us, not to like speak for everyone in my class, but I think we all can recognize like that's when experience comes in of being able to do that in the moment,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and not stumble and
Yeah.
not say, oh, I didn't, I don't feel like I chose the right word or, right approach or whatever. But so that's really
Yeah.
interesting for you to say that. That's a great way to put it.
Yes.
Because it's positive, but it's not like flowery and fake, it's authentic.
It has to be,
Yeah.
and my aspiration in that direction is personally never like I'm taking a poetry workshop
Mm-hmm.
next weekend
Oh, nice.
because eloquent language can as I heard a writer say can make good words can be midwives for awareness.
Wow.
And so the more eloquent we can get, I mean, not
Mm-hmm.
that it's a therapist doesn't have to be a poet, but
No, but
what we say and how we say it
it's important.
really
Yeah.
matters. Yeah.
Yes.
And you can just always get better at it, I think.
Totally. Well, that was one of my questions was like the type of language used in a group, but you answered that very well.
Mm.
Are there any particular groups you feel a Gestalt group would work particularly well for? I mean, who do you think has the best response?
I mean, I think that
Or is it
Gestalt
just
is really, it's best for process-oriented groups. I
okay?
really think it's best for people that are interested in a group where the group thing can happen.
Okay.
That's what I,
That
that's
totally
my
makes
opinion.
sense. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it couldn't be really effective in a substance abuse group or a
Mm.
support group
Mhm.
for people with a disability or for caretaker spouses. You know, Gestalt
Mhm. Mhm.
ways of engaging with a group. See, Gestalt's not, it's not particularly dogmatic. That's the thing,
Mhm.
even the theory of it. So
Mhm.
I could run a group by, Irving Yalom's, 5 steps to group perfection,
Yeah.
you know, and still my Gestalt framework can really help sensitize me to different things showing up in the room. So, I think any kind of group could really benefit from some exposure to how Gestalt groups work. But
Mhm.
in terms of an ideal Gestalt group,
Mhm.
I think pretty open ended.
Nice. I feel like another thought that came to me was like working maybe with people who are touched by grief. Um, because that to me is so in the moment and so it
Yes.
changes so swiftly. Um,
Yes.
anyway, but
Yes,
I
very
just
much so.
I feel like
That's
there are
yes.
so many different applications, or different experiences people are having like that would be really beneficial,
Absolutely.
or for whom Gestalt would be beneficial. So, I mean, I really think that you covered a lot, Avi. Thank you. I have one last question. I'm curious about ousting. That's come up a little bit in our reading. Um,
Ousting someone from the group.
yeah. Is this a Gestalt thing? I don't feel like I've read about this in any other kind of group setting.
It happens in plenty of kinds of groups.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, I know if there's, something that's like a serious infraction or something, but I wonder, like, in Gestalt therapy, or in Gestalt groups, is it sort of like, you know what? Like, you're not effective here anymore. Like, you're not helping us. You're not, does this happen?
um, I was long ago. I participated in a Gestalt group
Mm hmm.
where the leader would open up the groups with he would have readings that he liked to do to kind of set a tone and intention.
Okay.
A number of months into the group, one woman in the group said, "I just can't with the reading. I can't
Yeah.
like I can't be here with you doing the reading. I just."
Yeah.
And the leader said, "Well, you don't have to be here."
Hmm.
And she got up and left and never came back.
So
I don't know if that's an
nobody kind
ousting.
of voiced their agreement with her.
No, I think we were all really enjoying
Oh,
the
you
readings.
all liked it.
They were
Okay, I
fairly.
see.
They,
That's
I
hysterical.
don't think anyone had. She had, he was triggering for her,
Yeah.
and it was like it was a useful kind of thing. And I also wonder in retrospect whether he had some countertransferential stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah.
He went rather quickly to.
To
You
like
don't have to
out.
stay. There's
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
places
Yeah.
he could have gone.
Interesting.
But he puffed out his chest, and
Yeah.
she didn't want to stick around for that.
Yeah. Huh.
So they both kind of have to be. I mean, I think Gestalt would kind of respect what both of them did.
I hear you.
Yeah, ousting is a weird thing. I mean, it's like the collective consensus, if that is what takes over, and that's what needs
Mm-hmm.
to happen for the well-being of the group.
Sure.
Man, I don't want to have to be there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's such a painful thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's like like banishing like somebody from the kingdom out to the
Yeah.
forest. It's like
Yeah.
we can't hold you here anymore.
Right.
So it's I mean that should really to say it should be a last resort is an understatement.
I
I
hear
think
you.
that
Okay.
we have to be able to work through what
Yeah.
conflicts are presented.
That's what it's all about, right?
Unless it's a person that's just downright violent,
Yeah. Yeah.
even in speech,
Okay.
you don't need someone coming in and traumatizing everybody.
Yeah.
So
Hear you.
I don't know.
Um,
Okay.
do you have any words of advice for anyone who wants to look into any further Gestalt training? Any of us master students who are going to be off to
Yeah,
graduation soon?
it's funny. I think that some of my former instructors used to teach in either Pittsburgh or Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, do a Gestalt group training. The way
Cool.
to learn Gestalt is in group.
Okay.
Like that's the way to learn it
Okay.
because it's happening to you and to those around
Oh,
you.
right.
If
And
you
you
want
get
to
to
learn
observe.
about Gestalt therapy also and you don't have a therapist, get a Gestalt therapist because
Okay.
you know these things they as much good sense as some of the theoretical writing makes.
Mm-hmm.
If you can experience it, totally experience it, and if you
Right.
don't like it,
Right.
that's a really good thing to figure out too.
Yeah.
Um, so that and read the Polsters, Gestalt Therapy
Mm-hmm.
Integrated,
Mm-hmm.
Irving and
Okay.
Miriam Polster,
Okay.
and watch some YouTubes of Fritz Perls.
Oh, we have. Well, thank you so much. This is
It's
like,
my pleasure.
I really feel like this is the best way to, or just something that's like so great to incorporate into a presentation because we don't get the opportunity to do this enough as students. So
Oh yeah.
thank
Well,
you.
listen, invite me and I'll bring cupcakes. And
Ah,
I
yes.
can't wait for episode 2.
Awesome. All right, Av. Thank you. Bye. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.